on Prime Crime.
This was just a horrible situation where 4 bodies are piled up on top of each other in the swamp.
An entire family found dead by the side of a Florida road.
It was brutal, it was savage, it was primal.
As police search for another possible victim.
The son of Adam and Megan, Tristan, was in the house at the time of the murders, and in the house for some period of time after the murders with the corpses.
Who could have committed this heinous crime, and why?
Tell me exactly what happened, Megan.
I just came home and my son's dad put a knife to my throat.
She's alleging that you threatened her, threatened to even kill her, and threatened her with a knife. That's not true.
And a shocker at trial turns the case upside down.
The opening statement, dropping the bomb on everybody, including the prosecutor, was really a surprise.
Hey everybody, I'm Jesse Weber and welcome to Prime Crime. This is where we break down some of the most compelling and memorable true crime cases from across the country. When 4 people are brutally murdered, it's not just about catching the killer. It's about getting justice for the victims, because with this trial, it takes a very unexpected turn.
Pasco County 911. What is your name?
Megan Brown.
Tell me exactly what happened, Megan.
I just came home and my son's dad put a knife to my throat and he cut my hand and I'm like bleeding everywhere and my son's freaking out. I really don't want to do this in front of him.
August 28th, 2014, the quiet waterfront town of Hudson, Florida. A frantic 911 call breaks the calm.
Megan Brown was, I think, about 27 years old when this occurred. Megan Brown had a son, Tristan, who was 4 years old. Tristan's father was Adam Matos.
The Brown family was a close-knit family living in Pennsylvania. Greg and Margaret Brown were 52, and in 2014 they relocated to Florida, presumably to retire, but they took with them Megan and Tristan, and they took Adam Matos, who was going to go down there and live with them so that he could be close to his son.
They had, I believe it was a very brief relationship that resulted in Tristan. He was kind of attaching himself to the Brown family, and I think that he was kind of had the makings of a drifter.
He took off. He did this in my son's room and my son woke up.
Okay, ma'am, he cut your hand with the knife?
Yes.
Okay.
Bleeding everywhere.
She was very upset. You could hear that she was dealing with Tristan at the same time that she was making the call. It was obviously very emotional. She was obviously frightened.
We haven't been together for weeks now because he doesn't do anything. And I went out with my friends and I came home at like 5 in the morning and he got all pissed off and he was drinking.
Okay, he left in a vehicle or on foot?
On foot. He doesn't have a license.
Now, do you know if he has any other weapons on him?
I have no idea.
Okay. Is he on drugs or alcohol?
Alcohol.
Adam Matos was described as kind of a quiet guy, maybe even shy. There was no indication of any history of violence between Megan and Adam. However, the situation was getting more volatile because of the new boyfriend, Nick Leonard.
Now, where are you at right now, Megan?
I'm in my room with my son.
Okay, you're in your room. Okay, Megan, well, the deputies are almost there, okay? So just go ahead and stay inside the house. Can you lock the door?
Yeah, I'm locking my son into my room.
Okay, well, I'm going to stay on the line with you until the deputy gets there, okay?
Yes, he's here.
Okay, I'll let you go, ma'am.
All right, thank you very much.
So that's how it starts. With that call, police have gone out there, they've circled around looking for him, and police can't find him.
Police suspend their search for Adam Matos since there are no more 911 calls over the next week. All seems quiet at the house on Hatteras Drive.
Law enforcement had no knowledge that there was anything going on at Hatteras up until the 4th, when Linda Thomas called in the welfare check.
Linda Thomas is Megan Brown's step-grandmother.
And then 2 deputies went to the house, and they identified that there was a problem, and that's when I got involved. 2 of the major places Greg's closet and Megan's bedroom, it didn't have any carpet on it. It didn't have any flooring. It was just the bare plywood. Did somebody take this flooring up? Was it supposed to be here? There was a room with the dogs that was just dog poop everywhere, dog pee everywhere. Just, it looked horrible. And it was a nice house. We just knew that there had been a domestic incident and that they didn't know where the people were. We weren't even sure yet who was missing.
Then, a police officer searching the neighborhood makes a horrific discovery.
Sergeant Babcock had actually just driven down Old Dixie Highway with his windows open, got towards the end and smelled the smell and called other people out and looked, and you could see that there was a pile. That's how they found the bodies.
The way the bodies were found is just, I don't know how to say it other than kind of horrendous. These 4 bodies are piled on top of each other in the Florida heat and humidity. It was quite gruesome.
It was not clear who or how many bodies were in the heap. And I remember we didn't know, was Adam one of the people in the heap? Was Tristan one of the people in the heap? How many people? Was it 3? Was it 4? Was it more? So you really couldn't tell right at the beginning.
The bodies are in such bad shape, medical examiners have to resort to using dental records to determine who the victims are.
The victims of the crime were Megan's parents, who were Gregory and Margaret, Megan, of course, and Nick Leonard, who was Megan's new boyfriend.
The MEs conclude Megan and her dad, Greg, were killed by gunshots, but her mom and boyfriend died in even more barbaric ways.
The method was particularly brutal and savage, using a hammer, using a knife to stab them multiple times.
That's close up. That's intense. That indicates a level of rage, a level of anger, a level of intent that you don't necessarily get from pulling the trigger on a gun.
Police don't yet know exactly how the murders happened or who committed them, but they do know that 2 people who also lived in the house are missing, Adam Matos and his son Tristan.
And the sheriff is scouring everywhere. There's a fear that something's happened to this kid, or even Adam. There's 2 investigations, one trying to solve this murder, and the second one is trying to locate this kid. Where is he at? And he's autistic, he's not very verbal.
Investigators will soon discover that Adam Matos is very much alive, but at the moment, he's slipped through their fingers.
So when the 2 deputies knocked on the door for the welfare check, Adam Matos and Tristan were in that house and then fled out the back.
They saw law enforcement, and they actually left the house and I think hung out at a vacant house for a while.
And he actually took like a canoe that was tied up at one of the houses at the end of Hatteras and canoed across the canal. It was around 9:30 at night. He calls for a taxi cab and then drives just past where all the roadblocks of law enforcement were. And then they actually stop at a convenience store on their way down to Tampa. They go down to Tampa, over to the Floridan hotel, where Adam goes, checks in with Tristan, gets a room.
He signed into his, into a room in his own name.
That is ultimately where he is located by law enforcement.
Police make sure Tristan is safe and take Adam Matos into custody. They don't yet have enough evidence to charge him with a crime, but they do bring him in for questioning under the guise of the domestic violence incident involving Megan.
My name is Detective Google. This is Detective Kennedy. We work for the Pasco County Sheriff's Office. Okay. We needed to come here and talk to you about something that happened between you and I guess she's your ex-girlfriend, Megan.
Coming up, detectives press Adam Matos for the details of this heinous crime.
And at that point, I don't know if he knew that they had found the bodies, but he knew that they knew they were dead. They knew that he knew that they were dead. It was all a little game that they were playing.
So at some point you guys broke up? Right. When did you guys break up? About a week ago. A week ago? Okay. Do you remember what was that about? Just a bunch of drama.
September 5th, 2014. The day after police find 4 people dead near a Hudson Beach, Florida home, They interview Adam Matos, who fled the home with his son. Police have him in custody in connection with the murders of his ex-girlfriend Megan, her parents, and Megan's new boyfriend Nick Leonard. But they aren't showing their hand just yet.
I don't know if you were aware that deputies were even called out to the house. But we needed to come here and talk to you about some of the stuff that took place with that. And that's basically why we're here and why we wanted to come talk to you now.
Detectives start by asking about the 911 call from Megan 1 week before the bodies were discovered, where she says Matos assaulted her. They don't let on that they know about the murders.
So that was a week ago. Did you know that she called the police?
No, I didn't.
Didn't know, okay. Do you remember that incident where you guys got into an argument about her going out with a friend or something?
You know, she came home late and we just talked about it. We had an argument and she told me to leave.
Okay. And during the argument, did either one of you guys get physical with each other? Any kind of physical? I mean, did she threaten you in any way? Did anybody in the family ever threaten you? Does Greg and Margaret ever get involved with these arguments?
Sometimes.
Sometimes? Were they involved with that one?
Well, her mom came out and she told me to leave and I left.
Okay.
Well, she told me to leave the night before. She didn't really want me to.
Maggie had been pretty firm with him and had wanted him to leave leading up to this. She was a little less sympathetic to him not doing anything all the time or barely having a job and just not being productive.
She's alleging that you threatened her, threatened to even kill her, and threatened her with a knife.
That's not true.
That's not true? Okay.
And Adam, you know, he denied it. He denied ever doing that. And that's just one of those things that you know, we talked to him about it, and he insisted he didn't do that, and I don't know.
Where did you go when you left?
I rode my bike.
So that was on like a Thursday, right?
I believe so.
Did you go back that day, later that day? Did you go back to the house?
Mm-hmm.
How did you stay the night somewhere else?
Yeah.
Where'd you stay?
I stayed with a friend.
From the time Megan had called 911, he said he never went back.
Do you mind giving me a friend's name?
His name was Jake.
How about his last name?
I didn't really know him that well.
You could tell that there was some arrogance. He thought that they were not on to him or were not able to get him for what he knew clearly that he did.
So that was a Thursday, right, that incident took place where she called us.
Right.
You spent the night with Jake in Newport Richie.
Right.
What time did you get up Friday?
Friday. Can't remember.
Do you remember if you went back to the house on Hatteras on Friday?
I don't think I did, no.
No? Okay. Not at all? The whole day? Didn't go back one time?
No.
He was willing to answer some of their basic questions, just, you know, about the family. As they got into the 28th and the 29th, he was clearly lying.
But then, Adam Matos slips up.
Is there any way you can make sure that my son goes with my mom or my brother?
We can't make any promises right now.
Obviously, you know, we would like him to go back to Megan. Do you know if that's going to be possible?
I put no.
Okay.
Well, Megan's parents, they stay with them there.
Detective Kennedy and Detective Kugel, being good at what they do, they're like, well, we're really hoping that he could go with Maggie or Greg or Megan. And instead of giving him any kind of response, you know, Adam very coldly says, well, you know, you should call him, find out. I think he was starting to get an idea that they had a better sense for what was going on than he originally thought, so he asked for an attorney.
After Matos lawyers up, his conversation with police ends. But bizarrely, he decides to talk to someone else. He grants a jailhouse interview to a local newspaper reporter.
There's been a bunch of people following this story. What's your message to them? What do you want people to know about you first off?
Nothing really. Just a regular guy.
Did you kill those 4 people?
No.
Well, what do you think happened?
Honestly, I couldn't tell you, you know.
And when Matos speaks with this reporter, police listen in, hoping he'll reveal more than he did when they talked with him.
Can you tell me anything about the domestic violence? Because, you know, she said that you put a knife to her, backed her into the corner of the room. I mean, what's your side of that?
That's not what happened.
What happened?
We just had a disagreement about something, and pretty much told me to leave, and I left.
What were you guys disagreeing about?
I can't remember, you know, but something dumb, probably.
And that was the last time you saw her?
Yeah, that was the last time I talked to her.
We don't know what set Adam off, but very often in these types of situations where a jealous boyfriend will kill a girlfriend, it often happens when the girlfriend decides to move on.
So she's gone. I mean, what do you think about that? I mean,
It's hard to believe, you know. I can't believe that, you know, I'm hearing what I'm hearing from people. It just doesn't make sense.
Did you love her?
Yeah.
And her family?
Huh?
And her family?
Yeah, I loved her very much. I still love her.
He may have been in denial. He may have been in shock. He may not have completely realized what he did after he did it until it finally set in. Maybe he was so overcome by rage at the moment that once he did what he did and he realized the weight of it, that's when he knew that he was in trouble.
Coming up, as reality sinks in for Adam Matos, police continue to gather evidence and figure out exactly when and how the murders went down.
Was he angry? Was he upset? Was he mad at Megan? I'm sure there were a lot of emotions, but just determination and certainly intent to do them harm.
By the way, as you can see from the content that we cover here on Prime Crime, the world is just not a safe place. And especially when you think about your home, the place that you need to protect the most. Did you know that home title fraud is rampant? Yeah, I met with the people over at Home Title Lock, our incredible new partner and sponsor. I'm not going to lie to you. Freaked me out. Give you an example. This is a fraudulent quitclaim deed. Got filled out with my information, forged signature, fake notary seal. Not only could my property just get, transferred behind my back, but the scammers, they go after the equity. They also take out loans using your home as collateral. And they do all this, disappear, leave you with a legal and financial nightmare. But that is where Home Title Lock comes in, to give you peace of mind, especially with their triple lock protection, which gets you 24/7 monitoring, alerts of any changes, restoration services at no out-of-pocket cost to you. So to protect your home, go to HometitleLock.com/PrimeCrime and use promo code PrimeCrime to get a 30-day free trial of their triple lock protection and a free title history report to make sure you aren't already a victim.
This guy definitely killed all of them. He hated what they were, what they were to him, what their relationship had become, whatever it was in the moment. He hated those people and he was going to do them harm.
Adam Matos is being held at the Pasco County Jail for the aggravated assault of Megan Brown, his son's mom. But he's also a suspect in her murder, as well as those of her parents and her new boyfriend. That's when investigators speak with Matos and Megan's young son, Tristan.
Tristan was 4 years old when this happened and was described as autistic, and in communicating with him, you could tell that there was some difficulty getting information from him.
But Tristan does help fill in some details of how his family and Nick Leonard were killed inside the house on Hatteras Drive, all on the same day Megan made her 911 call. There are two versions of the story, but this is what law enforcement and prosecutors believe happened.
He came in that house intending to kill these people. He entered through the side door. As he entered Megan's room, he saw Megan kind of rushing out with Tristan. We're pretty sure that Megan probably put him under the master bed before Adam came into the master bedroom. And he had relayed, I believe, that Megan was saying, please don't, during that time period.
But the horror doesn't end with the killing spree, especially for little Tristan, who spends much of the next few days confined in his room.
I think Tristan probably spent a decent amount of time in that locked room. It was very clear that Tristan knew that they were all gone, they weren't coming back, and that they had been wrapped up in sheets or carpets. Like he had seen enough of the situation to know that that was happening.
Tristan, was in the house at the time of the murders, and in the house for some period of time after the murders with the corpses, although Adam Matos says he shut the rooms where the bodies lay. We'll never really know the true extent of the trauma that he may have suffered because of that.
Adam Matos moved them that night, going in the early morning of the 30th. He puts all 4 of those people in the back of the silver van, Maggie's van, and then drives them north on Old Dixie Highway and just drove down, I think it's about 3/4 of a mile, and then unloaded that van and dumped those 4 people roughly 20 feet off the road, just a little bit into thick brush. I remember there was like a branch, like a large branch on top of the pile, as if he had half a thought of maybe he would cover it with things, but ultimately he did not, and he just left them right there in a heap.
Several days afterwards, he was like washing the garage and washing the ground where that blood was. And so, you know, he was trying to clean up the scene. He was kind of overwhelmed. And then he was trying to clean it up because he's got this son that's autistic and that he doesn't want him to see, you know, what's going on in this house.
The murder weapons were ultimately recovered in a canal behind the house that the Browns had all been living in.
This house was actually on the very end of the canal. So he had dumped the hammer, Nicholas Leonard's firearm, as well as a number of Greg's rifles and knives.
Then the story gets really bizarre.
He goes on Craigslist to sell belongings of the family. They've got a bunch of dogs. He's selling dogs by Craigslist. People apparently came to the house to purchase them.
Maggie was breeding the dogs, so it's very possible Adam had some sense of, you know, these are dogs that you can sell for money. So he was fire selling them for $50 a piece or $100 a piece, which was substantially less than those dogs normally go for. And so he was able to move them pretty quickly. There was a whole bunch of other things that we think he was trying to sell, including the entertainment center, some jewelry, a Bose speaker. It looks like he was just trying to get anything that he thought he could make some quick money on and sell it to generate cash, because at that point, aside from using their credit cards, he didn't have any source of income. He didn't have any way to pay for anything. He wasn't working anymore.
After police find Adam Matos and Tristan, the young boy is sent to live with relatives. As for Matos himself, he's officially arrested and later charged on 4 counts of first-degree murder. Fast forward 3 years, and Adam Matos' trial finally begins, where he faces the death penalty.
It was definitely one of the bigger cases that I tried. We spent years working on it, just kind of getting it together and organized. Also, so that we would make sure, are we good here? Do we have everything do we need? Have we done everything that needs to be done?
This is a criminal case, and Mr. Matos is charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder.
Adam Matos' murder trial begins in November 2017 in West Pasco County, Florida. And if Matos is found guilty, jurors will have to decide if he deserves life in prison or death.
This is something that people talk about, you know. They'll say, you know, I'm not really for the death penalty except in the most extreme, brutal circumstances. And this is probably a case that would fall into that category.
If this case was a book, the title of the book would be, I Almost Got Away with It. On the morning of August 28th, 2014, this defendant, Adam Matos, threatened to kill the mother of his child, Megan Brown. And then later that day, he made good on his threat, came back and killed her parents, Greg and Margaret, and her new boyfriend, Nicholas Leonard. The challenge is to make sure to communicate to the jury all the things that we know so that they will know them too, to make sure that everything is clear, all the different pieces, because there was so many pieces of evidence, so many things that tied together. The evidence will show that this defendant, after killing these 4 people, sold their stuff, engaged in substantial cleanup, ultimately disposed of their bodies on Old Dixie Highway. tried to get away from the scene, distance himself from the scene, and obscure the scene to avoid detection. And after you hear from all the witnesses and see all the evidence, we're going to ask you to find this defendant guilty of murder in the first degree.
The prosecution's strategy of this trial was really to leave no room for doubt by putting on every witness, putting on every piece of evidence they have.
As you approached the residence and got into the residence, did you notice any odors?
I did. It was a really foul odor as I was coming into the garage.
Was the smell that you smelled coming from 7719 Hatteras Drive consistent with that decomposing body smell?
Yes.
They called more than 400 witnesses to prove that Adam Matos committed these murders. And remember, they didn't have film of it. They didn't have an eyewitness. They didn't really have useful DNA evidence because there was no doubt that he had been living in the house.
Do you know what time it was?
It was after midnight, 12:30. Adam, the next door neighbor, showed up.
Did he come from the general direction of 7719 Hatteras Drive?
Yes, sir.
How did he appear?
He was sweaty.
Did you find that unusual based on the weather that night?
Yes, sir. I mean, it was a summer night, but it wasn't very hot, you know.
They had to tell a full story of the circumstances that led to the murders, where they found the bodies, where they found the weapons.
I'm a member of the dive team, underwater recovery team.
When you got into the water, did you find anything?
My first step into the water off of the ladder, I stepped on a rifle.
The activity of Matos immediately after the murders and what he did at that house for some period of time, and the prosecution put on an extensive case covering all of those facets.
Did you set up a point where you were going to meet up at a certain address in order to buy a dog?
Yes, sir. He just kind of slid out the door, like cracked it and slid out with the box of dogs.
Okay. Did he didn't invite you guys to go inside and look at him?
No, sir.
Now, on August 29, 2014, did you see an ad on Craigslist for a TV that sparked your interest?
Yes. After we knocked on the door, a gentleman came out. I said, I'm here to look at the TV. He says, okay, can I bring it out to you on the front porch? I can't see something on the front porch if there's no plug outlet. I said, something ain't right. I said, I don't want this thing. If I can't see it running, I don't want this TV. Okay. And he even tried lowering the price down as well. Seemed really desperate for money.
At the conclusion of the prosecution's case, it's the defense's turn.
After the prosecution was done putting on its case, a remarkable thing happened in this trial. The defense stood up to give their opening argument, which they had reserved, as you can, until the conclusion of the prosecution's case.
But this is where things take yet another unexpected turn.
I'll just be honest, they thought it was a slam dunk that they're going to get the death penalty. And then I got this idea, I'll never forget that moment.
Hey guys, thank you so much for following the Adam Matos case with us. We're going to get right back to it in a minute. But look, one of the reasons we're able to bring you a story like this and go in depth and research it and break it down is not only because of the amazing support that we get from you guys, but also from our sponsors. And I have to call out one in particular right now, Morgan and Morgan. Look, if you're injured, America's largest injury law firm may be who you want in your corner. Not only is there no upfront fee, not only can the whole process be done straight from your smartphone, how simple is that, but they also have an incredible track record. I'll give you an idea. Recently, they secured verdicts of $6.8 million in New York, $12 million in Florida, and $26 million in Philadelphia. And all of these, mind you, considerably higher than the highest insurance offers in these cases. And look, even if your case isn't worth millions of dollars, Morgan & Morgan will fight for what you deserve. So if you're injured, you can easily start a claim at forthepeople.com/primecrime.
Ladies and gentlemen, this case is not the case of revenge that the state portrayed in its opening statement. This case is about self-defense. At the close of the evidence, the close of all the evidence, I will ask that you find that Adam Matos is not guilty of any first-degree premeditated murder.
When the defense team in Adam Matos' quadruple murder trial claims he acted in self-defense, it's a shocker, to say the least.
By us pulling that surprise on them, I think it did give us a little bit of an advantage. I know for a fact that we surprised them.
We had this whole new self-defense thing that was thrown in there. We knew immediately the only way that they can get these facts out is if he testifies. So he's going to testify. And then, he gets up and admits that he was the killer.
Let's cut right to the chase, shall we? Adam Matos, on August 28, 2014, did Nicholas Leonard put his hands on your throat?
Yes, he did.
Did he threaten your life with a gun?
Yes, he did.
That's when the self-defense began. Kind of blaming Nick Leonard for putting him in this position when he's just trying to get his stuff and get the hell out of there, and he's trying to get Tristan just to tell his kid bye, and this Leonard guy pulls out a gun and is jumping on him and threatening him and is going to kill him.
Did you get in a fight with him?
Yes.
Did you defend yourself?
Yes, I did.
Did you kill him?
Yes.
Why?
He tried to kill me.
It gives Adam Matos an opportunity to interact with the jury some, to make himself seem less like the killer we were portraying him as and more like something else, basically taking control of the narrative a little bit.
Matos says he managed to grab a knife that was already in the room.
In the struggle, Adam stabs him, he lets go of the gun. He's eventually able to subdue Nicholas Leonard.
At which time Megan came in with her father Greg. Greg had a rifle, pointed it at him.
Adam Matos, on August 28, 2014, did Gregory Brown threaten your life
Yes,
with a rifle? Did he pull the trigger?
Yes.
Did you get into a shootout with him?
Yes, I did.
Did you defend yourself?
Yes.
Did you kill him?
Yes, I did.
Why?
He tried to kill me.
This gentleman, a little bit cold and a little bit difficulty with his emotions, and I knew he was nervous already, so I kind of shortened up some of the questions and kind of had him more on a leash than I would most people on direct.
Adam Matos, on August 28, 2014, was Megan Brown with Gregory Brown when he tried to shoot you with his rifle?
Yes.
Did she say anything as he was pointing his rifle at you?
She said, "Dad, shoot him. Shoot him, Dad."
But Gregory Brown's gun misfires twice. So Adam Matos says he and Megan rush back to the master bedroom where there are more firearms stored.
And he's getting a gun, getting ready to load it to shoot Adam. So Adam got this gun from Nick Leonard. Adam shoots him in the back twice, and he goes down. And he's just freaking out at this point. And he sees Megan.
I could see someone in my peripheral, and it was Megan, and I thought she had something in her hand, and I just reacted and I shot her. I later found it to be a cell phone.
Did you kill her?
Yes.
Why?
I felt that she was going to kill me as well.
Looking back now, do you realize that she probably wasn't out to kill you or harm you?
I realize now that she probably wasn't trying to kill me. I was just out of it and so paranoid and in shock that I thought everyone was trying to kill me.
Why admit the murders and claim self-defense? My analysis of this is that it was clear to Adam Matos and his team that he was going to be convicted. And the only way he could avoid the death penalty with these murders, with 4 murders committed in gruesome fashion, was to tell the jury some story that would permit them to conclude there were some mitigating circumstances and the death penalty wasn't appropriate.
What'd you do then?
I lost it completely. I just realized that I killed the woman that I love, the mother of my child. And at that point, I realized that Tristan no longer had a mother, he no longer had grandfather, and he no longer had me. And at that point, I felt like my life was over.
What we wanted to portray was, this handsome, well-spoken, mild-mannered guy who was here in Florida to take care of his autistic son that he loved more than anything.
But Adam Matos' story doesn't end there.
Then he took a hammer and went back and just continued to pummel Nicholas Leonard, who he was upset with. And then he zoned out for 4 or 5 hours until Maggie got back.
How about Margaret Brown? Did you believe that she was trying to kill you?
Yes.
Did you fear for your life, though?
Yes.
We knew we had a problem with Margaret Brown. And so that was, from the beginning, our main issue, our main problem. If he was going to get the death penalty, it would be from that. Margaret Brown got off at Wawa because she's on the security cameras around 11 o'clock, 11:15 p.m. is when her shift was over. She's coming home, and then she gets attacked or hit by a hammer by Adam. What were your feelings when you killed her?
I was lost. I was hurt. I was in shock. I was out of my mind, and I thought that everyone was out to kill me. I felt like she was going to kill me as well.
Did you kill her?
Yes.
But it wasn't planned out, and he was just paranoid, thought the world was trying to get him, thought that law enforcement was going to try to kill him and his son, and so he hit her with a hammer and killed her. Was she bleeding a lot?
Yes.
What did you decide to do to her head?
There was a lot of blood, and to stop the blood from getting everywhere, I put a trash bag over her head.
How do you feel about her death now?
Horrible. I feel disgusted, and I loved her very much, and there's not a day that goes by that I don't think about it. I relived those memories. I relive it every day, and it just haunts me every day.
I don't think he was sorry at all about what he did to the victims. I'm sure that they spent some time preparing him to testify. You want to put more of a human face on this person that we were going to ask them to kill.
When prosecutor Brian Sarabia cross-examines Matos, he seems much less sympathetic.
Well, you still could have gone out the front door, you agree?
I could have.
You could have said, wait guys, everything's fine, I'm leaving, I'm just getting my stuff and saying goodbye, right? You could have done that.
Possibly.
You didn't do that though, did you?
No.
You pursued Greg and Megan, right?
Yes.
You pursued them into the master bedroom.
There is a sense of brutality from the close-up nature of these killings, and that kind of intense violence suggests something, frankly, more than self-defense.
And Tristan was in the master bedroom when this happened, wasn't he?
No, he was in his bedroom.
He was in his bedroom?
Yes.
By himself?
Yes.
Was he locked in there?
I believe Megan told him to close the door.
When did that happen?
It must have happened while we were in the room.
It must have happened. Did you hear it happen?
No, I didn't hear it happen, but she must have told him to lock himself in the room because when I came over to the room, he was locked in there, so he must have locked himself in.
You're just making stuff up now. When I did meet with Tristan, he did make statements that made it clear to me that he was in the master bedroom when probably Greg and Megan were killed. You don't think Megan would have gone and grabbed him and kept him with her and gone into the master bedroom like what actually happened?
No.
He was definitely a liar. That guy, you could not tell if you were getting the truth from him when he said anything.
After about 2 weeks, Adam Matos' murder trial comes to an end. The jury deliberates for fewer than 3 hours and then returns to the courtroom.
Adam Matos, the jury has reached their verdict.
We, the jury, finds as follows. The defendant is guilty of murder in the first degree as to Nicholas Leonard as charged in the indictment.
All 12 jurors agreed he was guilty for each of the 4 murders.
Did we really think he was going to get found not guilty of 4 counts of murder? No. We knew that he was probably going to get found guilty for sure.
The question now is, does the jury think that Adam Matos should spend the rest of his life in prison or be put to death?
Now you know the facts of this case. And what this defendant did to Greg and Maggie and Nick and Megan is unimaginable. He made these decisions and they all had negative impacts on Tristan. Each and every one of you ended up selected on this jury because you would be able to render a recommendation of death.
The prosecution thought this was a very clear death penalty case. These murders here were particularly heinous, especially the ones committed with a hammer. They were particularly violent. Also, just the number that he killed 4 people, the mother of his child, the grandparents of his child.
But for Adam Matos's love for his son Tristan, none of this would have ever happened, and we would not be here today. The ultimate decision on which is the appropriate punishment, death or life without the possibility of parole, is a moral decision, not a factual decision. It is a decision that you will have to live with the rest of your lives. Embrace the better angels of your nature and choose life. You'll never regret it.
All we needed was one, but maybe it was enough to have one of them say, you know what, I just don't feel like this guy deserves a death penalty, even though there's 4 bodies here. You know, it's not 4 equals a death penalty and 1 doesn't equal the death penalty. It's not that simple.
We, the jury, finds as follows as to Adam Matos in this case.
On 3 counts, 10 of the 12 jurors voted for a death sentence. For the final count, the murder of Margaret Brown, the vote was 11-1. Since at the time, Florida law required a unanimous decision as to the death penalty, Adam Matos' life was spared.
We were luckily able to get one person to knock on that door and say, hey, I'm choosing life over death.
I don't think that the juror who held out was going to ever vote for death.
The defense strategy proved successful, and in a remarkable way, because in fact it was only one juror. It was only one lone juror who refused to agree to a death penalty verdict in the case.
Before the judge officially sentences Adam Matos, the niece of Margaret and Greg Brown speaks up for Tristan, whom her mom has legally adopted.
I'm sure that you would like to think that with his autism, Tristan would be able to forget that what you've done, but I promise you he is not. He tells us daily what he saw and what he remembers. He tells us Daddy made a boo-boo on my mommy's head, and there was a lot of blood. He makes my mother promise him, when they say their prayers every night, that she will never leave or hurt him. He's terrified of you, Adam. You stole his whole world. You ruined his whole life, and we are here to pick up the pieces. We adore him. We get to watch him grow. We get to listen to his infectious laugh, and we get to see his bright, beautiful smile.
Is there anything that defense wants to present or any statements the defendant wants to make before I enter the sentence?
I would just like to say I'm sorry to the victims of the family. I know that's not enough, but I just would like to make peace and hope that they don't hold on to that hate in their heart, because a heart filled with hate is not free. I'm truly sorry.
Adam's gonna have to say whatever garbage that he was saying, things that were not at all true, but things he, I'm sure, thought were gonna help him.
Mr. Matos, before we proceed with the sentence, I have a few things to say. This was the most selfish, self-centered, evil thing that I've ever heard. That you took the stand and you said that you did all of this for your son is ridiculous. Hopefully, with the love that he has from the relatives that he has, he will learn to understand and be happy and learn the things about his mother that he did not know because you took her at such a young age of his. I sentenced you to life without the possibility of parole. You will never, ever be released from prison.
It's one of those cases that I know we will be forever changed from it. It's just something that stays with you. It's definitely something that you never fully recover from.
Just the magnitude of the hurt that Adam Matos did to the community, to the people who were close to the victims, just the horrible way in which it happened.
This is such a heartbreaking story. 4 people dead, and the 5th victim, young Tristan, He has to live the rest of his life without his mother and grandparents. Now, thankfully, he has extended family who are helping him heal from this unimaginable betrayal committed by the person who claimed to love him most. That's all we have for you here on this episode of Prime Crime. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. I'm Jesse Weber, and as always, stay safe.